On this episode of Mom Sipping Sangria,
Mum's experience is so unique. They have it all to be able to do it, but they just don't know where to start.
I'm good. Let's do it.
Well, welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria. I'm Sheila Walsh.
And I'm Anita Reynolds MacArthur, sipping on a sparkling strawberry kiwi sangria. Ooh, this one has rum. Yum.
Yes, ma'am. Not a lot of fruits in season right now, so I was looking around for, what is kind of easily accessible, and greenhouse strawberries are available in most places, and I don't know about you guys, but we've had some pretty yummy kiwis in the last month, so I thought, why not?
Yeah, my kids are not into kiwi. Actually, neither am I. But,
really?
But when you have it in a drink, that's different. If you have it on a dessert, like if it's a cake with a kiwi on it, then it goes down a little bit better for us. But yeah, so there's a texture to it for me.
With all fruits, I'm like really, they have to have a certain texture or I like literally gag. Yeah. So apples and the apples are the big thing. So if they're like, I don't know if it's like spongy. Do you know what I mean when I say spongy apple?
Pulpy.
I can't
kind of, yeah.
Nope, can't do it. Like I have a bite and I'm like, Anyway, how are you doing, lady?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm, was watching some talk show hosts and their guest was saying, let's just start the new year in February because January, let's just lump that in with 2020 and start February as 2021. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea at all. I wonder if we're going to be doing that in February and March. And
I know.
Oh my goodness.
One big, long, drawn out 2020.
Yeah. I think it's getting there. We're progressing, and patience is a virtue indeed when it comes to COVID and pandemic and everything else that's associated with it. Just stay safe and healthy. And I know that we're both in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. You're on the east side, we're on the west side, so we're under the same restrictions, and we have been all along. So you just have to kind of adapt and roll with it. I mean, really, what can we do?
Go for long walks. That's what we do.
That's right. That's where you saw your looms last episode. I still remember that. The Asylum of Looms. So, Anita, I have a question for you. Now, okay. I know our kids are older. I think the youngest one between the six of our kids is Elle, and she literally just turned 13 a couple of days ago.
Oh my goodness,
I have a
teenager.
teen, yes.
Wow.
But yeah.
How did that happen?
I know, right? Because literally I look at her and I still see this squishy little baby. But anyway, she's like, Mom, I'm not that squishy little baby anymore. But let's go back in time. And do you remember, when you're on maternity leave and then going back to work after, let's start right at the beginning with Campbell. So this is 21 years ago. How did you feel having to go back to work after taking some time off with Campbell?
Oh, I think probably I would have to say super stressed. Super stressed all around. Super stressed about having to go back to work, but super stressed to also have to leave him in the care of somebody else that wasn't us. And being that he was the oldest, and at the time, it was actually only 6 months that I had to take off, that I was allowed to take off before going back to work. And I don't know about you, but 6 months really wasn't long enough. But by the time Ava was born, we were up to a year for maternity leave. So that at least felt a little bit better. However, that was good on my heart. But jumping back into the workforce after a year really wasn't easy. I mean, there's a lot of changes happen within a year in an office setting. You don't really realize it until you've been away for that long. How about you?
Yeah. So I remember being literally beside myself and having like massive anxiety and depression at the thought of having to go back to work. But, we had to because we needed both salaries. It's tough. When you live in a big city, trying just to make ends meet, it's not easy being, a one income family. And I think a lot of people can appreciate that. So, but like you, it was massive anxiety at the thought of someone else looking after my baby, and that's what I really had to get over. Luckily, I found somebody who was great and recommended. And of course, 3 kids later, I don't know if you felt this way about Hayden, but 3 kids later, I'm like, here, take Elle. She's fine. See you later. But you and I, we returned to the workforce while our kids were still young, right? So we kind of jumped back in. So there were a couple of learning curves, but nothing like if we had taken years and years off that so many women and some men and guardians do all the time to raise their kids until they're, in high school or whatever. And then they're thinking about heading back to work. Imagine that.
Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to imagine what that anxiety would be like. But there is help. Diana Cregan is a mom who understands the fear and overwhelm of heading back to work after raising a family, and she's been there, so she knows of what she speaks. She is a career coach, life coach, and former recruitment consultant. She works with moms to support them as they move from thinking and daydreaming about going back to work to actually going back to work. So Diana is the creator of the Back to Work Roadmap for Mothers, which is a coaching program for moms who want to head back to work and reconnect with their professional identity.
Yeah, and here's our chat with Diana. Hi, Diana. Welcome to Mom Sipping Sangria.
Thank you so much.
Now, we are talking to you literally from the other side of the world. You're in Australia, where it's summer, right?
That's right. Yeah, so I'm in Melbourne, which is on the east coast, and we are smack bang in the middle of summer holidays. So the kids are all off school until Feb 1st.
Oh my gosh, we're like getting a polar vortex on this end.
Yeah.
So lovely Australia. It's on my bucket list. How about you, Anita, visiting down under, as they say? Yes or no?
Oh my goodness, I would love to go there. I have a cousin who lives there, and one day, my dad's been, and he, raves about it. So we're a little bit jealous of you right now with the weather that you're having.
And just before we, when we were, calling Diana and getting acquainted, we said, maybe we'll just throw out one question and let her talk because we love your accent. And she said, you have an accent. I don't have an accent. It's just so weird how that works, right?
It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. So Diana, you run something called the Back to Work Roadmap for Mothers. Let's talk about that. How did that come about for you?
Yes, thank you. So I guess it's been a long journey, and you at the time you don't see the sense of all of the dots that you're creating and how they join up, but eventually they do, and it's really how I got to this point. So my background is very varied. I was in operations and industrial relations and recruitment, and I had a few different roles before we were actually relocated to America. So we spent 7 years living in the States. And when I came back, and we came back to live in a different city, I really didn't know what I was going to do next. And so I really went on my own journey of what am I doing? What can I do? Who would want me? Is there any possibility of me returning to a professional work life? So I went through some career coaching and then went into professional development and was a coach for a while. And then I went into life coaching and then career coaching. And I just kept attracting this same woman, this mother who was desperate to reconnect with her professional identity, but just did not know how to take those first steps to making that possible. And I thought, well, that's it. There has got to be a path, an easy path for women to just follow and take. And that's what led me to creating the Back to Work Roadmap.
That's amazing. So you've lived it, and you had this attraction to just giving that information back, because there really isn't something like what you offer out there. Yeah,
absolutely. There are lots of career coaches, and they all tend to specialise in different areas. But I think the mum's experience is so unique that finding and giving them the confidence to believe that they have the capacity, the skills, the knowledge. They have it all to be able to do it, but they just don't know where to start. And they actually think they have a couple of obstacles that they can't get past. And what I try and show them is that, they're just really mindset obstacles, and we can actually deal with them with some very practical, pragmatic things, as well as some mindset work. But it's about getting them over that overwhelm of, I don't even know where to begin.
And when you say obstacles, can you give us examples of those obstacles that, parents fear that are in their way?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the kind of obstacles that they think are present and that they think this is what's holding them back. It's things like not wanting to abandon their family. Feeling like if I'm pursuing my own career and if I'm pursuing something that's just for me, then I must be selfish and I must be abandoning my family and the whole thing will collapse and no one's going to get fed properly or bathed or, and it's going to be my fault. I'm going to be responsible for the family falling apart.
Sounds familiar.
So that's one really big one that often holds them back from taking that first step. And the second one, which is really common, is feeling like I just don't have any skills anymore. I've been out of the workforce for 10, 15 years. What have I got? Surely no one would want me. What could I even offer? I don't know that I could fit into a workforce anymore. Those sorts of lacking in confidence and really forgetting all of their competencies, all of their strengths and all of their experiences and what they bring to the table. So getting them past that mindset obstacle as well. And that's, again, through some fairly pragmatic frameworks. And then the third one, which is the one that induces, an immediate outbreak of sweat, is that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to sell myself. I don't have a network. I can't do a networking thing. If I don't have a network, I can't get a job. Well, I may as well not even bother. Like, I can't do it. It's all too hard. So that's another really, really common obstacle that they think is holding them back.
And so how were you able to help them get past that and reconnect with that professional in them that they used to be?
Yeah, so it's a combination of two things. It's a combination of some very practical, pragmatic frameworks, exercises, activities that brings out all of the stuff that's inside them already. Like, they've already had careers, they've already had skills and experiences, they've already got lots of strengths, but it's about tapping back into all of that information that's still sitting there inside them. So it's very practical, pragmatic stuff. And then the other side of it is all around mindset. It's really about getting them past their own inner obstacles, because they can be got past. So getting them to see that things like confidence, a lot of mums say to me, can you just give me confidence? And what the path that I kind of take them through is that confidence that actually comes from within. But what I do is teach them how to build upon their confidence. Confidence is just knowing what you're good at, maybe what you're not great at, but knowing where you stand. And once you know with real clarity about who you are, and what you bring, then you can talk really comfortably about it, because you're not pretending, you're not trying to be something that you're not. You can really tap into who you are.
It's really tough to do that on your own, which is why someone such as yourself would be really
So it's very much a combination.
So it's really about working with someone if you can't figure that out yourself. And that's where someone like yourself comes in.
Absolutely. So the whole value of a coach is that they're outside of your own head. One of the biggest challenges that mothers face when it comes to this whole lack of confidence and the overwhelm of not knowing where to start is that they're starting from the same point inside their head, and they go around and around the same conversations and hit the same brick walls every time. And the benefit of a coach, the benefit of working with someone else, is that they change the direction of your thinking. They make you think about things differently. They get you to reframe things so that you come to it from a different perspective. And along with the various frameworks and exercises and activities and the conversations that we have one-on-one and in groups, we get you to think differently. And that's really my role, to get you to see that there is a completely different way of approaching what is just a problem. And every problem can be solved. It's just a matter of working through it.
And so if a mom wants to enter or re-enter the workforce and do something completely different, is that advised right off the bat?
Well, yeah, like the whole process of going back to work, whether you're going back to the same thing or something different. And most of my clients do go in for something different because they're different people at this point, and they're, what they value, what's important to them, the direction that they want to go in has changed. And so going back to do something different is often the starting point. And that actually takes you down the same path of looking back at what you've done, because what we then do is look at all those transferable skills. Yes, there are some hard and fast skills. If you're great at Excel, learning, a Photoshop program is a different thing altogether. That's just a different technical skill. But when you look at transferable skills, they are skills that we can move between industries, between different functional jobs. And that's what I want women to see, that they have huge amounts of value, huge amounts that they can contribute. It's just a matter of extracting it from the past, reframing it, repositioning it, and understanding what's transferable so it's appealing to their prospective employer.
And not being afraid to take those steps, because really it can be so intimidating, some of these things. If you're not really a tech person, and now we're in a very much a tech world, this is going to be quite overwhelming. But I imagine you would probably break that down and say you don't have to know everything at once.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And where you started was really exactly correct. It's the fear. You know, we talk about the fact that fear is really not real. Danger is real, but fear is not. And what we want to do is peel back what that fear is. What is it that you are really fearful of? And do we need to be fearful of that? And is there a way that we can approach that situation? And it may well be that if you decide that you want to take on a role that, you know, a huge part of it is technological and it's really important to you, then okay, what's the pathway? What are the things that you need to learn? Let's break it down. Let's plan it out. Let's look at the logistics. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to go back to work tomorrow, but if you've got a 12-month plan to get back to work, or a 6-month plan, or even a 6-week plan, let's break it down. What does it look like? Where do we start? What do we have to do? Let's map out a pathway that's going to get you to where you want to be.
So now we're obviously in the midst of a pandemic here. COVID days have us actually on this side in a lockdown. And so would you say this is, a good time or bad time to try to re-enter? What's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I certainly don't want to be insensitive to lockdowns. Victoria went through several months of lockdown, so my heart is really with you all, because I know how unbelievably challenging the circumstances are. But I would definitely see this time as an opportunity to think about what it is that you want to do and start to map out what that plan and what that pathway looks like. Because I said it's not, for women re-entering the workforce, it's rarely a 6-week exercise. Like, there is quite a lot to be thought about and to be planned out and to be done. And if we can work on a 3 or 6 month plan to get you back, let's use this time really opportunistically to map out exactly what it is and needs to look like so that we can get you there. So I would not be waiting. Don't wait for anyone. Don't wait for anything. This is your life and your choice, and you shouldn't be held back by anything. So let's do what you can. Let's control what we can. Anxiety is all about not being able to control. So let's look at what we can control, and we can certainly control a lot in the pathway back. We might not have a job in 6 weeks, but we can certainly map out what we need to do to get you there.
That's great. I mean, this service is so important because, really for anyone, but especially, like you said, moms who are just re-entering, even, parents, fathers, they could probably get the same, information out of this. Doesn't really have to be specific to moms. But 2 questions. First one, if someone in Canada wanted to contact you and use your services, it's not like Australia has a different set of rules for moms going back to work. This is about the person, not the country where the person is in.
Correct, 100%.
And is there anything else that people should keep in mind about what you do, what you offer, where they are? You have a platform. Speak away.
Well, lovely. Thank you. Look, I think one thing that I would certainly like every woman, every person really, but particularly the mothers going back to work, thinking about going back to work. My background is an ex-recruitment consultant, so I understand recruitment and I understand the industry very well. And for a whole host of reasons that would take me, a good hour to talk through, which I won't, by and large, recruitment consultants and job boards and job agencies are not very helpful for someone returning to work after they've been out of the work for a really long time, because they are relying 100% on a resume. And I actually tell all my clients, your resume is the last thing that we work on, because by the time you are looking at a job, you will have had so many conversations that the resume is the last thing that passes hands. So one thing I would want women to feel more confident about is don't let your self-esteem take a battering by constantly applying for jobs online and wondering why you're never getting an interview. The pathway back for mothers and for caregivers and dads who've been out of the workforce for a really long time is going to be through conversations, through networks, and it doesn't have to be scary. More than 85%, and this is the same pretty much universally, it varies like 5 to 10% across different countries, but most people get a job via their own personal networks, or their personal networks, or their ex-business networks, or their school network. It's not through agencies and job boards. And I want people to walk away when they hear that, think, it's possible. I don't have to go through an agency to get a job. I can actually do this off my own bat. So yes, it doesn't matter where they are in the world. They can certainly take that advice because that is universal. In terms of me, the best way to kind of reach out to me, well, even to get to know me a bit, is probably via something like Instagram, which is backtowork.coach. I have a private Facebook group, the Back to Work Roadmap for Mothers. Obviously, my website, backtoworkroadmap.com. And I think perhaps for your listeners, if it's helpful, as I said earlier on in the conversation, is that a lot of mothers think, I just don't have any skills anymore. I don't have anything to offer. I don't even remember what I used to do. I actually have a worksheet that puts them through a series of exercises that helps draw out all of the information so that when they get to the end of it, they think, oh, actually, I'm quite capable. I can do quite a few things, and I think I'd like to look at this direction, or I'd like to think about that direction. I've got a worksheet that I'd be really happy to give all of your listeners. So
that's great. I mean, your blog is great. You've got lots of great tools and tips, and certainly offering. I know we talk a lot about essential services, and even though this doesn't fall under the COVID essential service, I think this is an essential service to move forward for people, who need to kind of reconnect with something other than the role as mom. Not that that's not the most important role, but that there is another part of you that needs to be nourished as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's one of the, I talk about the fact that women often have, or mothers have a few signals that are indicating that they want to go back to work, but for whatever reason, they're choosing to ignore them or dismiss them in the short term. And that's one of them. That's feeling like, gosh, I think there's more to my life. I love being a mum and I love what I'm doing, but I think there's more. I think I want to do more with myself. So they often start to feel like that, and then they might move into oh gosh, my life is looking a lot like Groundhog Day. I'm doing the same things at the same times with the same people. I think I'm going to go crazy. Like surely there's a bit more to life than this. And then they start to go through a bit of a phase of getting a bit resentful, getting a bit disappointed. This is not the life that I saw for myself. This is not where I thought I'd be at this point. Who can I blame? It's so unfair. And what I want to do is take them off that roundabout and put them back and remind them that they're in the driver's seat and get them to start thinking about, right, this is my life. What do I want to do? Where do I want to take it?
Well, Diana, what you're doing is fantastic. I think that you're offering people some, hope, positivity, self-esteem, during a time like this, most especially, what you're doing is commendable. And I think you have a really great business going there. And we wish you nothing but the best. So thank you so much for being with us today. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure being here. And you too, stay safe.
Okay, Miss Anita, it is time to raise a glass to something we like or take a pass on something we don't like. And this is where we cheer someone or something great, or we toss a sangria over their head. Are you raising a glass or taking a pass this time?
First, I'm going to start with the positive, and I'm going to raise a glass to the creators of a show that we binged. And when I say binged, I mean it was just like, can you do another? Can you do another? Can you do another? And it's a show called Broadchurch, and it's on Netflix.
I love Broadchurch.
Oh, I don't know how we missed it up to this point. And David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker. So David Tennant, for people who have not seen it, so this is a British show, but he is Scottish. And so, the way he says murder, because it's all about, it's all about a mystery murder, solving it. And there's 3 seasons of it. And so we were able to totally binge watch it. It all takes place in an area of England called Dorset.
So
stunning. It's like a character in itself. So I'm also going to be raising a glass to Linda McDonald Keith, who is, you may remember, is married to Drew Keith with our hubbies.
Yes.
Because she posted on Facebook about how much she loved the show. And I'm like, oh, what is this? So I got to reach out to her and thank her for that. And in terms of who I'm going to toss a glass to, it's actually to my dog, because in the month of January, and I love my puppy dog, but he can drive me crazy. He's getting very barky lately. And so the month of January for me was all about reconnecting, getting back to myself and meditating. So I would get up early in the morning before the kids got up and quietly come down the stairs. But of course, you can't do anything quietly with the dog around. He wants to go outside. He's like ready to play. And I'm like, no, this is my time. So I know he's going to bark outside. So I bring him in and, I've got my headphones on. I've got the music going. I'm like getting into my headspace. And then I can just almost every day hear in the background. Because he knows he's not allowed to bark, but he just can't help himself. So I'm going to toss a glass of sangria over my puppy dog's head, but not for real, just,
Walter. That's the best dog name in the world, Walter. That is, honestly, come on. Doesn't get better than that. I like Walter.
And how about you, Sheila?
Well, you know what? A couple of things. Raising a glass to, the local businesses and restaurants, just trying to stay afloat. Seek them out, y'all. And, do takeout, curbside pickup. They really are. This is a tough, second wave thing for them. So raising a glass to all of them. Also, Anita, I don't know if you've taken advantage of this, but all those grocery delivery places? Have you ordered anything and got it delivered to you yet? Or are you still going to the grocery stores?
No, I haven't. Ian goes in. We're trying to keep to one person per household, going in. So he goes in, but we haven't ordered online yet.
Oh, so I've ordered a couple of times since COVID happened. And actually even before when I was on mat leave, that was the first time I ever ordered groceries. But when that's a whole other story. But Elle was born in January, as I just mentioned, and it was like 7,000 feet of snow. And I'm like, I'm not going out with a newborn and two other kids. So I tried it back then and I was hooked. But anywho, so fast forward to today. And I was working in the office and thinking, I got to make dinner. I want to make fajitas. And I forgot the tortillas. I forgot them. So I went on Instacart. Now that's just one. This is the one I use. There's a whole bunch of other ones out there. But I went on Instacart, ordered groceries, and within 2 hours, Anita, they were delivered to my door within 2 hours. So cheers to those people, because I'm sure they're running through the aisles just trying to get this stuff filled and then delivered it within 2 hours. That's amazing. So thank you for saving my butt. And the fajitas were great, by the way. Just saying.
I'm going to have to keep that in mind then. No, I heard, back in March, grocery stores, of course, were not equipped as they are today. And it was taking such a long time to get those groceries to you. So that's fantastic that they've leaps and bounds.
Yeah, they've made huge progress. And, there is a little bit of a markup and there is a delivery fee. But for me, it tells you right on it. It says you've saved 3 hours using, this, again, I use Instacart. You've saved 3 hours using Instacart. I'm like, thank you. That was worth, $10 or whatever I had to pay in addition. Cool. So total cheers to all those people and the people behind the scenes, obviously filling those orders. And then taking a pass on, I sent you a picture because Anita, you do all of our social media and digital media, and you're so flipping good at it. And you're always like, give me a picture that I can use on Instagram. I'm like, today I just looked like I was, I don't even know, dunked in sewage. Maybe let me think about that a bit more.
Lucky Greg.
Today, I think... I can't use dunked in sewage. That's just too nasty. Today was one of my worst COVID looks yet. So I took advantage of it and took a shot of how awful I just didn't care today. I just didn't care. So I took a picture of it. But the whole point is I'm actually tossing a sangria on me. And I'm sure there are other people like this because I'm holding an item that I actually ordered and didn't remember ordering. And I'm like, did anyone order this? And they're like, no. Where did you order? Didn't you? I'm like, no, I didn't order this. Anyway.
Okay, haven't done that yet.
No. So that, that's dangerous. So just be warned, and tossing a sangria over my head. Maybe I should have less sangrias and that might solve that problem.
Oh, Sheila. Well, in addition to these things and people we have toasted or tossed, we have a few favorite things on our website, which we raise a glass to each episode. We would love to share those with you. You can find them on our Fave Finds page from our website, momsasipping.sangria.com. Sheila?
Well, these I do remember ordering. I have I have a warm, waterproof, comfy hiking boot that helps me. I'm someone who falls a lot when I'm walking, and I just don't have very good balance. And
You fall a lot?
I fall a lot. I fall down the stairs. I fall a lot. So this has really good support for people like me. But other than that, they're really just really good hiking boots. So that's mine. What about you, Anita?
Okay, well, for me, my fave find is a battery-operated flameless candle that is made with real wax. So it has like that authentic look of a real candle without the potential hazard of a real candle. This one is really cute. It comes in hues of pink and orange, and it's just so pretty. It just makes me feel good when you turn it on. So I'll be posting that one up.
Ooh, I love that idea. That sounds great. So cheers to all those people, places, and things. And of course, we raise a glass to you as well. Cheers.
Cheers. We've come to the part of the show which we call the Sangria Chronicles, featuring good news stories only, because who wants to sip and cry?
Not I.
Good one, Sheila.
Thank you.
There's enough of that going on in the world anyway, so let's put on those rose-colored glasses and focus on the good news only.
That's right. It's my turn.
It is.
Thanks, Anita. So for this one, we head to merry old England, specifically in an area of Leeds. Interesting, because you were just talking about England a little while ago in Dorset. So grandparents Barbara and Clive are part of a very tight-knit family, and since last March, almost a year now, if you can believe it, they have been isolating and unable to see their 3 grandchildren. So that's like really a bummer. So I know this is going back to Christmas, but it's still relevant, and I'll tell you why. So Christmas, like so many of us around the world, was a virtual get-together, but the Walshas became innovative. So first of all, Walsha, I don't know if that's a real name. Come on now. That's what caught my name. Like, Walsha,
yeah,
are you Irish or not? Anyway.
Not sure.
So what the Walshas did was they ordered 2 6-foot inflatable polar bear costumes, which allowed them to be fully enclosed, and they drove over to the grandkids' home and made a surprise visit. The kids were a little freaked out initially until they realized it was Granny and Grandpa, but the costumes allowed them all to reunite and hug for the first time in almost a year. So why I use this story, because, again, it's over a month old from Christmas, but why don't we all start dressing in big inflatable costumes so that we can walk around and hug each other?
Wow. Now that's pretty creative, I have to say, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, but it's also nice because there are so many people who are just missing each other, and they found this way. And I don't know if that's, within regulation and if you're actually not super protected or not, but it seemed, based on what I saw, and I'm going to send you the link that we can post on the website, it looks like they are fully enclosed, and it's nothing different than wearing 2 layers of PPE. So maybe this is the way to go, and we'd be happier walking around dressed as like polar bears and lions and flowers. Just a thought.
As long as everyone's behaving. Everyone's got to be behaving.
No kidding. No kidding. So that's the good news story this week.
That is a good news story. And if you have a good news story to share, or if you'd like to cheer someone you know who did something that made you or others happy, we'd love to hear it. You can send it to us via our website, momsippingsangria.com.
Okie dokie, let's spill the sangria. Any juicy or funny stories that you want to spill over a sangria, Anita?
Yeah, this one actually just came up for us not too long ago as a fun little memory. We went to New York City summer before last, before COVID, took hold of us. And we had tickets one day to go see Mean Girls, and this is Ava and me. So it's a play on Broadway, Tina Fey production. And so we were, Ian decided he was going to sit this one out. And the boys, though, wanted to come and just walk around. They wanted to see Times Square, go do things in the area, Bryant Park, New York City Library, that kind of stuff. So I was a little bit nervous, obviously. They were a little bit younger, not too much, but I said, okay, fine. Campbell, I think, had just turned 19, and Hayden I was a little bit more worried about being the youngest. But I said, okay, when it's done, when we're done with our play, we're going to walk over to you and I need to find you at Old Navy in Times Square. And you need to be staring at I want you inside Old Navy and I want you looking out the window. And you better be there, when I come by. So they were like, okay. So they got all excited. They came with us. So fast forward, the play's over. Ava and I are walking over and I'm like, those boys better be at Old Navy. If they're not, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my mind. So I go and sure enough, they're in the window of Old Navy staring out just as I'd asked. And it was a time that I'd asked. And I was like, wow, I'm so proud of them. And then I turned to see what they were looking at. And they were, in Times Square, you've got like, cheesy Elmo and all kinds of things you can take pictures with. So this was actually 3 Brazilian women who were topless.
No.
But they had painted their boobies.
Yes.
And they were doing their little dance and the boys were transfixed.
No wonder they were there.
I was just like, oh my God, I actually asked them to do this. I asked them to stand in the window and stare out.
Oh my gosh, a trip they'll never forget, Anita.
Oh, never forget. So just, the other week, this memory came up and, we were laughing about it or whatever. And then Hayden says to me, well, Mom, I have a confession to make. And I'm like, okay. And he said, well, you asked us to stay inside and stare out, which we did, except that at one point at that point he was 14 or something. He wanted to get a picture with these lovely women. So they went outside and asked the women to take a picture. Campbell gave them some money and I'm like, you didn't post that anywhere. So he's like, no, Mom, I just thought it would be like cool to have, but I didn't do anything with it. But we never told you about it up until now.
The truth is revealed. Times Square has come a long way from the singing cowboy in the underwear. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you for letting us hang out with you, and we hope you're staying well and healthy. Remember, past episodes, fave finds, sangria recipes, and other great stuff can be found on our website, momsippingsangria.com. So before we sign off, we will leave you to sip on this question, and you're up, Miss Anita.
That's right. Okay, are you ready, Sheila?
I am ready, Anita.
What was your last moment of nostalgia?
Huh. And today's show does not count. Okay, let me think.
Yeah, really. Well, tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is the best answer, but it's the one I've got. It's the first one that came to mind. So my favorite picture of the kids, canvas wrapped, those boxy kind of frames that you can put up. So I have these 3 pictures of the kids in our bedroom, and I wake up every morning and I see it and I'm like, oh, I love my kids. Look how sweet they were. So last night, Miles, my oldest, it came into our room and put them all upside down.
No.
So this morning he's a quirky kid. So this morning I woke up and I'm like, oh, I don't remember them like that. So I don't know if that qualifies, but every day I wake up and I always have some kind of memory of my kids looking at these pictures. So I think that qualifies. I don't know. What do you think? Is that a good one?
Well, now you're making me feel like a bad mom, Sheila, because I don't do that.
Well, we all can't be as great as me, Anita.
Apparently not. Well, we've come to the end of our show, so we're going to leave you to sip on that question as well. And that question is, what was your last moment of nostalgia?
All right. Well, that's it for now. Till next time, have a good one.
Have a good one. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
We are Mom Sipping Sangria. Yeah.
They're probably like, wah, wah.
Greg, can you please come down to the office for a moment? Period. Thank you. Exclamation point. Mom Sipping Sangria is produced by Elm Podcasting.